Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this morning's special episode of the Maritime Morning Brief, brought to you by the Marine Exchange of Puget Sound. I'm your host, Sarah, and I'm here with Executive Director Patrick Gallagher and Chair of the Puget Sound Harbor Safety Committee today.
Good morning, everybody.
Today, we actually have three guests for you, so this is kind of a special episode. We have got James Prazak, Performance Director at Tricon Energy and member of the Lone Star Harbor Safety Committee, and current chair of the Harbor Safety Committee National Steering Team with us.
And everyone.
We also have Mike McElroy, Director of Marine Operations of Wendella Boats, member of the Chicago Harbor Safety Committee, Vice Chair and soon-to-be Chair of the Harbor Safety Committee National Steering Team.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be here.
And we also have Christopher DiVeglio, Maritime Services and Ports Programs Manager at NOAA.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here.
Of course. So it's really exciting to have everyone here kind of on this group call today. I know it was most of your first times doing something like this, but we just wanted to get together and talk about the upcoming National Harbor Safety Conference at the end of the month. So it's happening in Seattle, March 24th and 25th this year. I was wondering if anyone would feel compelled to kind of give us a little introduction to what the Harbor Safety Conference is for anyone who might not know.
I nominate Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I tell you, it has evolved over the years, and I think James, our current chair, will be able to expound on that a bit. But it is one of the greatest concentrations of like-minded folks in the realm of safety and maritime that you could possibly ask for, between our agency partners and leadership from all across the country, bringing together their thoughts, all aligned in the same direction to try to raise up awareness, waterways awareness, sharing the waterways. It's just a great event where we come together to discuss issues of critical importance to our ports across the domestic U.S. and others.
Yeah. And this is biannual. So Mike, you hosted last year, James the year before, correct?
Two conferences
years.
before. We had Boston in between.
There you go. All right.
Yep.
Boston in between. So Patrick and I are hosting this year. It's been kind of crazy. There's a lot more work, I feel like, that goes into this conference than from the outside.
I agree.
So in the end, I'm just sort of curious, and we can do this over beers in Seattle, but what did you all think, James and Mike? I mean, did you have any regret? Not that I have any right now, but how did it go for you?
So it was definitely a lot of work. It took a lot of convincing to get people to volunteer to host. That seemed to take a while for me when we were doing Houston, but you have to remember Houston and Boston were under the old system where the TRB kind of helped coordinate things. And so they took they took the cost risk and a lot of it, and they coordinated a lot of it too. Now it's more of a program that's driven between us as the National Steering Team, the local Harbor Safety Committee, like yourselves hosting this time. And now you're taking that risk. And so we all work together on a national level to try to make sure you're going to be successful and do the best we can to help you do that. So it's a little bit of a different program, but yeah, it was a lot of work, definitely a lot of work, but it was huge getting all those people in, getting a little bit of focus on the Houston area and how big we are in the maritime industry and what we do for the country. And then just the people who come between all of the Coast Guard folks. We had the Commandant there, and a bunch of other high-ranking officials from all different agencies who are involved in maritime. And then, of course, all the folks from all the different harbor safety committees from around the country that showed up. So I loved it. I thought it was a huge opportunity and a huge learning experience for me. So, Mike, you want to add to that?
So, yes, agree. It was seemed to be an uphill battle in the beginning. I'll say kind of like drinking out of a fire hose with the amount of information that was coming at us, specifically because we were transitioning from the third-party organization running it to it being more locally in conjunction with Coast Guard. But what started as a free fall became a very controlled descent, I think, as our port partners came together and through the leadership with Noel Jones and Kevin Kiefer and certainly James past, what he had been through in the past, he really brought a lot of comfort to us. It was a lot of work. It is a lot of work, but it's absolutely worth it in the end for what comes out of it.
Mike has the voice for being the host.
Well, we'll
Well,
see how Patrick does this year.
yeah, we'll
There we go.
see. No pressure. I just remember, so my Chicago was my very first one of these. So it's to go from never been to this conference to hosting it. I just was sitting in there and remember, I think right at the beginning, I don't know, Mike, maybe it was you, maybe it was Noel, but it was like, hey, by the way, we're gonna need another host
Yeah.
by the end of this thing. And I was like, I'm doing it. And it's because I was like, God, like the venue was amazing. And then it just came off really, really well. I was like, oh, we got to do this. This will be so cool in Seattle. And then I went to the back of the room and signed us up. And here we are. Sorry about that, Sarah. I'm so sorry.
You know,
But it's been great. It's a cool
yeah.
process. I'm looking forward to it. And Chris, I'm kind of curious about, how you got roped to this thing and your role too, being with NOAA.
Yeah, Patrick. So I've had the opportunity actually to attend all three of the previous conferences that we mentioned: Houston, Boston, as well as Chicago. My role representing a federal agency is pretty important. A lot of the attendees at this conference include a large, or decent population of folks representing different federal agencies, and of course, I think their presence, in this space is really important, just to really be able to engage in meaningful dialogue on both current but also emerging issues. Uh, I would imagine that the folks representing specific harbor safety committees on this particular podcast probably appreciate that strong coordination with the federal agencies. So I think not just at the local level, but of course in the national space, in regard to this conference, that's something that that value is important.
Yeah, most definitely. It has definitely been, I think, something that has like kept us together through the chaos of planning is the similar thing that comes from harbor safety committees themselves. Is this just like joint effort of people coming together to do the thing. So even though we've never done it before, and even though I have never attended one, this will be my first one. So even though I've never attended one, like there are people here to help, and the community is getting really excited. So we go forward, and I think that's the spirit of harbor safety committees in general. So it's pretty cool. I want to discuss kind of what we're all excited about at the conference. So we have a really big agenda with a variety of different topics. It's just kind of what everyone's looking forward to.
I think, Sarah, this is a good time to plug, the theme of this year's conference, which is lessons in
Yeah.
resilience, shared experiences, and smarter solutions. As I mentioned with this conference, there's first off, a lot of planning that goes into it, a year or more in the making. So there's a lot of thought and analysis that goes into structuring these panels, which are meant to provide value to not just the panelists, but also the attendees. So I think, the hope that I get excited about is people leave with something new, something they've learned from a panel, and something that's in practice in another area. Of course, every seaport and is unique. Every harbor safety committee, has different priorities. But I think, leaving with a clear understanding of some new way of thinking about things, with hopefully a little bit of strategy immersed in there.
Absolutely. Mike, you wanna go next?
Sure. For me, it's two big things. Number one, I'm so used to seeing Patrick in this little square in the computer through all these planning meetings. I'm really looking forward to actually seeing you guys in person after all the work and dedication you guys have put into pulling this conference off. So number one is actually getting that face-to-face time with
Agreed.
folks from all across the country. The second thing I'm most excited about, and this is selfishly, I get giddy when I find out that someone is interested in forming a harbor safety committee, and as a byproduct of the convention, they reach out and say, hey, you talked about this at convention. So the potential for new seeds and assisting in the future through the NST and inspiring other harbor safety committees, to me, is like, that's I'm just very excited to get down there and start to see those seeds planted.
Yeah, and we have a couple panels discussing, the functioning and how to get one started and all of those things in which you see a couple of these faces on. So I agree with that. That'll be cool too. And we've had a few people reach out about that, so that should be interesting. James?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first real conference I attended was Portland back in 2016. And at the time I was chair of Lone Star in Houston, our harbor safety committee. And what, what kind of surprised me was at the last minute, I got invited to this, harbor safety committee chairs breakfast. And so all the chairs and vice chairs who were in town would have breakfast one morning. And that's what I met John Venture for one, who's, a fixture in Seattle. Um, and John had been doing some work to try to get a handle on all the harbor safety committees around the country. And I saw the value in that as well. And so he and I had some discussions, and this whole, I think he was already looking at this idea of trying to have some sort of broader framework to support harbor safety committees. And so I had the opportunity to take some of what he had already done and go from there. When we had the 2019 conference, again, it was still kind of a fledgling uh, desire. But when we went to Chicago, that's where we really took the time and the focus to try to get support for having some sort of a national support structure, which has now become the National Steering Team. Just like Mike said, to be able to meet those harbor safety committees who have been able to use a little bit of our support and support from others to get their fledgling harbor safety committee moving, or maybe they have a harbor safety committee that just hasn't been very effective, and to pick up on some ideas. Every harbor safety committee is different. Every port's different. And so what I do in Houston isn't going to work for all the other places. All we can do is give them ideas, of what's worked for us. And a lot of it goes back down to relationships, right? It's about having good relationships and getting everyone working together. So, as long as you keep that as your core and focus on what's going to work in my port community, again, seeing that all the topics are great, all of the speakers are going to be great, the special, folks that come in and talk to us, just all that's going to be great. But for me, it's seeing the national steering team in place now, seeing where it's been able to help others, and then again knowing that there's a ongoing structure of the national steering team for the future leadership taking over as I step down at the end of the conference, knowing that it's going to be well taken care of and moving forward, and the value it's going to bring to all the harbor safety committees. Just that's the exciting part for me.
Yeah. Patrick?
Chris said it about, what this is about, that word resilience, I think is right on, in that this is a key focus right now. So many things are changing in our world, and the opportunity to come together is sorely needed. A lot has happened, and of course, it's going to continue to happen. We don't control so many things, but I think this idea of just like everyone has said, getting the people together, is just an incredible opportunity. So I get really energized around people that I've known, especially, and then for years, and then bringing new people in. I mean, there's people coming from the Cayman Islands? Is that right? I saw people,
Yep.
from all over, that I've never met or heard of, and brand new harbor safety committees like what Mike is talking about. And I think it's kind of amazing. I mean, we're the beneficiaries of a very mature harbor safety committee. They've been around for 26 years, I think, something like that. And what I see happening is that the importance is growing. It's always been important, but it's getting even more critical. And I think the Coast Guard is recognizing it, certainly. And I can see that in some of the new guidance that's come out, getting called out specifically in an NTSB report, which the national steering team, like I see it growing, and I see the gravity sort of coming together. So I think this is going to be really important. And I'm just really, really glad to be there and, you know, to facilitate some of these relationships. That's it.
Yeah. And I think another thing that I'm really excited about, well, one, it's been so cool to we get a lot of phone calls about the conference, obviously, which is can be overwhelming, but it's also extremely cool to just meet people on the phone or an email every day. I got a connection from we're having the conference at a Port of Seattle facility, and the Port of Seattle security that works there, someone from security reached out and was like, I work here. I heard about the conference. This sounds really interesting. How can I get in? And I thought that was like kind of a cool relation that someone doing the work at our facility and in the space like was able to find us in that way. So that's really cool. I'm also really excited to have everyone in Seattle on our new waterfront. It's been I haven't been in Seattle that long. I came here in the middle of construction. I know Patrick's seen it beforehand, but now that it's done, this huge project, and so we'll be right on the waterfront, and I'm really excited to be near everyone. The hotels are close by, the community is close by, the space is close by, so I think it'll be really fun to have everyone in this whole vicinity together for a few days here in Seattle. I want to also just let everyone get to know you all a little bit better. So if each of you wants to just kind of give us a little, we call it what, the origin story, Patrick, a little bit of history on you and kind of how you ended up where you are and your experience and all of those things.
Well, first, I started,
Okay.
only because I'm thinking about Bell Harbor and what you said, Sarah. So, I was thinking the other day, because I'm a ferry rider, so I go along that waterfront all the time. And I was thinking the other day about how this all started, and it was I got a job, like a temporary summer job down at Argosy, which is just down the street from where we're gonna have our conference. And I was a deckhand hauling deadheads and trash out of the water. And I was like, God, when was that? And man, we're going on close to 30 years, which blows my mind. But it was just kind of a whim. I just was really wanted to get on the water and have an adventure. And I used to pull into Bell Harbor and empty their dumpsters with a boat, and then haul up deadheads into the pen down by the Coast Guard base. So that's where I started in maritime. Of course, then I went from there to the Coast Guard, and then was stationed in Seattle twice over a 22-year career. And then when I finally retired, I was stationed in Hawaii, and I asked my kids where they wanted to go, because I was like, I dragged them all over the country, and they wanted to come back to Puget Sound from Hawaii. Believe
Actually,
that?
no, that's how that happened.
Yeah, I gave them the choice, and they said we want to go back. We want to go back home, and that home for them was here in Washington. So I said, all right, let's go. And came back here, which I wanted to stay in Hawaii pretty desperately, but you got kids, you got to do what they want. And then COVID lockdown didn't work for a while, and then got this job when John Venture wanted to retire. So that's me. How about Mike?
Boy,
I'll choose.
similar to Patrick, I started in 1988 as a deckhand on a small passenger vessel company, inspected vessel, subchapter T, smaller. Worked my way as a deckhand, dealt with passenger issues, learned the CFRs through our local Coast Guard inspectors, fell in love with the water, eventually became captain, ran as our charter boat captain there, master vessel captain for years. Always liked how things worked, so I really leaned more towards engineering, became an engineer, then a chief engineer, but always kept that connection to the regulatory side of things, since so much of the maintenance and mechanical depends very much so on keeping the boat safe. So I had continued to be a chief engineer for a while, eventually became the director of marine operations at that same company. 24 years there, working with another passenger vessel association member. moved across the river to just right across the bridge, across the river to my current company almost 15, 14 years ago, where I'm now the Director of Marine Operations and Regulatory Affairs. We run 10 passenger vessels in the city of Chicago. My side altruistic jobs on the side is the working with our Chicago Safety Committee, which first spooled up in 2013. I was engaged at that time during their first charter. Then eventually 2017 served in capacity as a sector rep. Then later made it to the board as vice president, and now president on year 3. In addition to that, I'm the co-chair of the Area Maritime Security Committee, and we really like to specialize in drills and training, on and on. I'm also a park district commissioner, former park district president, because who doesn't like being outside? You get the best of both worlds, so water and the land. So that's just a little bit about me. I'm going to be stepping up to fill the very large shoes that James is left here with the National Steering Team as of the end of this conference. And I get inspired by inspiring others. So I'm really looking forward to being out there, Patrick, with you and beating the drums of revival and safety and getting, keeping us all together. It's just really looking forward to being out there with you guys.
Awesome.
I just want to do a great job at it. No doubt in my mind. I'll jump in and continue on. So, I started, I have a chemical engineering degree and, fully expected to work in the chemical plant my whole life. I had a small scholarship from a chemical manufacturer when I graduated high school, and that got me my foot in the door for internships. And my first 2 internships were in plastic plants making polyethylene. And then my third internship, when I received my letter, said I was going to marine. And I looked at that and I scratched my head and I was like, what's marine? I've never heard of marine. And so I called some of the people I knew from previous summers, and to a T, they all said, must be a lab where they dump chemicals in the water to see if it kills the fish. And I'm thinking, I'm going to hate this job. And instead, the day one, they picked me up and take me to my office, and it was on the waterfront. They had docks, they had vessels. It was just, I'm a fisherman. That's been one of my hobbies all my life. And so being on the water was just incredible. And so when I came out of high school, they offered me a job to come back in the Marine Department. So I worked there for 5.5 years, did a lot of different things, emergency response, being an engineer at the facility, doing safety, environmental, Coast Guard regulations, got a real varied background. And then to really screw me up, they moved me over to railroad, where I ran a rail car cleaning and maintenance facility. And that was odd, coming out of Marine, and the Marine was in my blood. It really was. And I think that the guys that worked with me in rail had the same thing. Rail was in their blood. It never really hit me like it did them. Marine was always calling my name. And after another 2.5 years there, I had the opportunity to go back to Marine on a global support basis, implemented a vetting program, did the international and Coast Guard regulations on a national basis, and things like that. I've been really involved with what was called CTAC in the old days, Chemical Transportation Advisory Committee, as a FACA advisory committee to the Coast Guard in Washington, and then harbor safety committees and all the others. And then in late 2009, Tricon contacted me about seeing whether I'd be interested in coming to work for them as their global operations manager. So I joined them in early 2010. So I've been there just over 16 years now. We've grown a lot as a company. We had 75 employees when I started in 2010. Now we're over 1,000. And we move a lot of material, and stuff. So, as the job grew, we had to start splitting it up. And so now my title is performance director. There's operations managers that handle the day-to-day operations aspects of it. I'm more of a support person handling the technical matters, the quality matters, insurance. I joke with everyone that tell them I'm the old guy, and that's what I do. But, I love what I do. It's a great company. They support all the things I get to do. They see the benefit in being involved with the industry. And from my perspective, I don't know everything, but if I don't know something, there's someone in the industry that I know because of those relationships that I get from doing these things that gives me an opportunity to go talk to them and get answers that I may not have. So it's hugely important. But yeah, it's kind of odd. I thought I'd be in, again, working in a chemical plant. And instead, I've been in the maritime industry and, plus the chemical industry together, but loving it and had a great time. It's been a great career. Chris?
So I was not ever a mariner, but I certainly studied and worked closely related to two sciences that tie very much into navigation. So my background, meteorology and oceanography. Part of that inspiration was probably growing up in New York City and spending a lot of time at the beach. And as I grew up, spending a lot of time at the beach and along the coast of Jersey and New York. So watching time commerce from a very young age, watching the ships coming out of New York Harbor. So a little bit of a plug there, but pursued degrees meteorology, oceanography, and was working for a while doing forecasting for weather forecasting in the private sector. I came to NOAA here 13 years ago and was in various roles of data analysis, data monitoring. The program office that I'm in within NOAA's National Ocean Service, um, maintains all the tide gauges and coastal observations all around the U.S. and various foundational products that support a lot of different mission areas, but very much navigation for sure. And I've been in this role as the program manager of the NOAA Physical Oceanographic Real-Time System, which is a program focused on real-time observations in and around seaports to support safe and efficient maritime commerce. So in this role, I've really enjoyed not just growing our program, but having the opportunity to work with partners and stakeholders nationwide. So while I'm not a part of one individual harbor safety committee, in my role as a federal representative, representing NOAA, I have the opportunity to be plugged into various committees and lots of different things. So when I joined the steering team a couple of years ago, was able to provide a lot of perspective on things that I was seeing that across the country and how various harbor safety committees were operating a little bit differently and how some of their strategies and stuff were implemented. So, again, don't have a specific local tie, but happy to have more of a broader view and involvement here. And of course, happy, to support the planning and presence at this conference.
All are critical
You know,
pieces. I didn't come from Maritime either, but here we are. Not once would I have imagined.
so where'd you grow up, Sarah? How'd that happen?
Oh, yes. I grew up in Hood River, Oregon, so along the Columbia River, which has a maritime connection. I now know. I didn't really know about it at the time. I went to University of Oregon, which is not that popular now that I live here in Seattle, but it was a great school. Studied public relations and communications and all those things, and then got connected with a family friend in oil spill response. That proceeded to here, and now I work in this really weird position where I know so much about all these little sectors that I never would have thought I would, and get to meet people like you every day. So it's pretty cool. And yeah, just never a spot I would ever thought. And now I tell everyone, I'm like, did you ever think of this? So it's very cool. Yeah, absolutely. Mariner for the kid.
I think a pretty good theme for today's discussion is people. And what I find really interesting is like I've known Sarah for 4 years. I've known Mike and James and Chris for years. Mike, I think at least 3 years.
Oh, I think
And I never heard your background. So there's things
Yeah.
just from having, taking half an hour and chatting about what we all have in common, which is these waterways and our passion for it, really binds us together. This is a very consistent theme that I see, that we all easily find ourselves within this work, and that's what we have in common. So can't tell you how much I appreciate you spending, Friday afternoon with us to get some of this out and tell us what your thoughts are. And I mean, it's really important. I know your time is extremely valuable. So thank you so much for being with us.
More conversations to come at the end of the month. As Mike said, we can't wait to see everybody in person and be surrounded by so many other enthusiasts. So I think we're gonna kind of wrap up here. We can't give away too much before the event comes. So if Mike, James, and Chris, you just want to go through really quick and let everyone know where they can find you or how they can keep in touch with you, that would be fantastic.
And the best place is come to the conference and see us there. If you can get a seat, that's the challenge right now. Is we have such interest, it's pretty full, right? But
Yep.
that's super exciting in and of itself. Is to fill out the place, and we'll have to have a bigger room next time, which means more effort on the next party who's going to host it. But that's a good thing. That means we're meeting the needs of the people who are coming. And again, it's relationships. It's meeting people who may have had the experiences that you're trying to learn from, and giving you a chance to then, if they're up there speaking on a panel, getting a chance to go see them and run into them and ask them questions. But for sure, you'll see me at the panel. My details should be on the website for the conference, or look me up.
I know you've got a LinkedIn.
Yeah, do have LinkedIn.
We'll put it down there.
Yeah, that'll work great. Contact me any way you need to contact me, and you can get a hold of the folks there in Puget Sound. If you're in Puget Sound, they'll know how to get a hold of me as well. Anyway, here to help.
Amazing. Thank you, James.
Sure. Yeah. There'll be several of us at the conference. Some of us as attendees, some folks who are involved a little bit more in the panels, particularly from NOAA's National Ocean Service. So several of us will represent a couple of the different program offices that make up the National Ocean Service, but all offices that provide foundational data and products supporting safe and efficient navigation. So definitely feel free to come up and say hello. Business cards are still a popular thing. So, that's always a great way to leave some information. You can find me in particular if you want to know a little bit more about myself and the program that I oversee. You can find me on LinkedIn, Christopher DiVeglio. And again, encourage you just to stop by and say hi.
Thank you, Chris.
If you're interested in finding the National Steering Team, you're interested in forming a harbor safety committee, and you have not done so yet, there's a coalition of the willing, the greatest bunch of cheerleaders you'll ever meet. You can reach out to your waterways chief and ask to connect with the National Steering Team or your captain of the port zone as well. That'll get you in contact with folks who can help you get on the right path, or if you just need a shoulder to cry on. If you're looking for me, you can find me on LinkedIn, or you can also seek out Wendella Boats in Chicago, and we'd love to host you. Come on down and visit us in the Windy City.
Yeah, I'll put one more
Put
plug in
that
if you
on
don't
our
mind.
list.
Yeah, if I can
Yeah.
put one
Go for
quick
it,
plug
James.
in, and that is for Noelle Jones. So Noelle is kind of our Coast Guard
Yes.
person in charge, liaison. I don't know what term you want to use, but
Chief
I'll probably use the
Cat
wrong one. She'll tell me about it. Yes,
Mm.
she is incredible at
Lady
what
in
she's been able to
charge.
do. Yes,
Yeah.
great job of getting us together, finding people who are looking for help, and bringing those to the steering team to get the support to help them. But she's amazing. She spearheads all of the planning committee efforts, all of the national steering team efforts, and kudos to the Coast Guard and Noelle in particular for what they've done. Taking kind of a ragtag group of folks and volunteers and making it into something that's been very effective.
Absolutely. Noelle has been just critical in getting this together. That's for sure. She was not able to join us, but she is fantastic. And if you want to get in touch with her, if anyone wants to get in touch with her, we can get you in touch with her as well. With that, I think we're going to close out this episode. Mike, James, Chris, thank you all very much for coming to join us. Patrick, in your semi-host, semi-guest format. Maybe we'll have to do that more often. And yeah, anyone who wants to learn more about the conference can head over to our website, marexps.com/national-HSC-2026. There are still some seats becoming available as we get closer to the conference and people have other plans that maybe they didn't anticipate. So please do get on our wait list if you are interested in attending, and we will do our best to get you a ticket. And with that, we hope to see you there. So we're going to sign off for this special episode of the Maritime Morning Brief. And I look forward to seeing you all again bright and early tomorrow morning.